Dear students, today we will learn about secondary data, statistical errors, and their approximation. We have already learned the meaning of statistics, definitions of statistics, primary data, secondary data, introduction or meaning, statistical investigation, the steps in statistical investigation, population method, that is census method, and sample method. About all these, we have learned already. Now we will learn about secondary data in depth, and whenever investigation is carried out, statistical errors are bound to be crept in. How to approximate them. So all those things we will learn in this lesson. The topics to be discussed in today's lesson is, although we are going to learn about primarily secondary data, but we will have a glance at the definition of primary data. And as stated earlier, we will know about statistical errors and approximation, how statistical errors can be approximated. These things we will learn. So types of data, as you all know, for investigation purpose, data will be collected from various sources. As you all know, as you are aware, two types of data are available: primary data, secondary data. Again, methods of data collection you have already learned: census method or population method and sample method. Now coming to primary data, it refers to the statistical material which the investigator originates for himself for the purpose of the inquiry in hand. In other words, it is one which is collected by the investigator for the first time. When we use primary data, we have to remember it that it is called as raw material. According to Wessel, data originally collected in the process of investigation are known as primary data. We have learned about various methods of collecting primary data. There is direct material, direct personal investigation, indirect personal investigation, information through correspondence, questionnaire method. Questionnaire method, again, you have learned that it may be sent through post or schedules sent through enumerators. So all those methods you have learned about them. Their relative merits and demerits also we have learned. Now today we will learn about primarily about secondary data. We will learn. What is secondary data? Data collected by someone else for some other purpose, but being utilized by the investigator for another purpose. Secondary data is the data that has already been collected through primary sources. Sometimes it is not possible to collect first-hand information for want of resources in terms of money or time. It is not possible. So in that situation, secondary data is used. This type of data is generally available in magazines, journals, bulletins, like that. Books in library, from library we will gather, or newspapers like this. This secondary data can be mainly classified into two categories. That is published data. Second one is unpublished data. So published data may be obtained from various international, national, and local publications. International publications like IMF, International Monetary Fund, or World Bank, or ILO, International Labour Organization, or IBRD, that is International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, or UNO, United Nations organizations, whatever data that they publish, if an investigator uses for investigation purpose, that is known as international publications, taking the help of international publications. Official publications of central and state governments. Sometimes the investigator may take the help of official publications of the central government and state government for gathering information. He may be conducting a study on national income or savings pattern or investment pattern or employment, rate of employment. So in that case, he may take the help of RBI publications or census or statistical abstracts that are published by every state government at state level. Sometimes committee reports will be there. Sometimes the government appoints a survey and inquiry committees or commissions to get the expert views on matters of great importance. For example, you can take that reports of Public Accounts Committee of Lok Sabha. So in that case, the investigator, if he wants to conduct an inquiry, he can take their help. Newspapers and magazines, as I already told you, the newspapers like the Financial Express, the Economic Times, or the Hindu, like that you can take their help. Or periodicals like Economics and Political Weekly, Capital, Commerce, Money, etc. We can draw some information from these sources. The individual research scholars, sometimes the principal investigator can take the help of the various reports of research scholars and research institutions also to obtain the data of economic significance. So we can see sources of economic data collected from books or personal resources, journal, newspapers, websites, or government records, committee reports, individual research scholars report, like that. They help an investigator can check. Books, as you all know, books are one of the oldest, most traditional ways of collecting data. Today there are a number of books available for research scholars or academicians or for investigators. Again, you all know that today books are available not only in a print way, but in electronic medium also. In electronic way also, number of books can be browsed, number of books can be searched. So you have to do is look for a book on the topic being searched on, and then select from the available repository of books in that area. Authentic source of authentic data, which can be useful in preparing the literature review. As you are aware, research scholars, if you are research scholars or academicians, in any research, in any investigation, literature review is going to be the review of related literature. For that, books will be of immense help. So, an investigator can take the help of books, published sources. Published sources, as I have already mentioned you, published data. It may be international publications or official publications of central and state governments, or certain committee reports, or newspapers and magazines, or individual research scholars' reports can be seen. Their study can be used for our investigation. Their reports can be used for the investigation by the primary researcher. The unpublished personal sources will be there. That is, unpublished data will be there sometimes. So when the data are collected by someone, but which are not published and are taken by other person for his investigation, they are known as unpublished secondary data. For example, reports of trade unions, cooperative societies reports prepared by private investigation companies. These reports can be taken by the principal investigator. Now journals. Journals, as I already told you, it may be Frontline or India Today or any other journal. Journals are gradually becoming more important than books these days when data collection is concerned, because they cover current affairs also. This is because journals are updated regularly with new publications on a periodic basis. Therefore, giving up-to-date information will be available in journals. Whereas books, for printing of books on a regular basis, it will be difficult. Then updating them, bringing a new edition will be more difficult. Whereas journals, some of the journals may be weekly journals or monthly journals will be there, or quarterly journals will be there, fortnight journals will be there. So whatever information that is there in a journal, it will be regularly updated. So that is the journals provide a cutting edge over books in some cases. And the newspapers, in most cases, the information passed through a newspaper is usually very reliable, because whatever information, whatever news that comes in one newspaper can be cross-checked, can be cross-verified with the same kind of news in another newspaper. Or in current TV channels also, whatever that is being written in newspaper, that is being printed in newspaper, one can authenticate it with news channels, news, hence making it one of the most authentic sources of collecting secondary data. The kind of data commonly shared in newspapers is usually more political, economic, and educational than scientific normally. So therefore, newspapers may not be the best source for scientific data collection, because scientific matters you won't see an in-depth analysis of them in newspapers. Only in magazines we will find, or in books we will find. Websites. So we are living in electronic world. The information shared on websites are mostly not regulated, and such may not be trusted compared to other sources. If anybody has a website, means he can upload whatever information he wants, whether it may be authentic or not, we do not know. However, there are some regulated websites that only share authentic data and can be trusted by the researchers. Most of these websites are usually government websites or private organizations that are paid data collectors. The blogs, just like websites, blogs are also being maintained by persons or companies or organizations. Blogs are one of the most common online sources for data and may even be less authentic than websites. So even individuals can own blogs free of cost nowadays. So that is why anybody, whatever information that he wants to pass to the public, he may put the information in his blog. So it is a burden on the researcher, on the investigator, to verify the authenticity of that information. So these days, practically everyone owns a blog, and a lot of people use these blogs to drive traffic to their website or make money through paid ads. So it is very difficult which information is authentic or which information is not authentic. Therefore, they cannot always be trusted. For example, a blogger may write good things about a product because he or she was paid to do so by the manufacturer, even though these things are not good. Diaries, they are personal records and as such rarely used for data collection by researchers. Also, diaries are usually personal, except for these days when people now share public diaries containing specific events in their life. A common example is, if you are a good student of history, a girl named Anne Frank has written her own diary which contains an accurate record of the Nazi wars. Anne Frank was a girl and she maintained a very good record of Nazi wars during Second World War period time. That can be taken for investigation purpose or for research purpose. So government records, as I have already told you, governments are Government records are very important in authentic source of secondary data. They contain information useful in marketing, management, humanities, and social sciences. Some of these records include they may be census data, health department records, education institutional records, likewise. They are usually collected to assist proper planning, allocation of funds, and prioritizing of projects. So government records, government reports can be taken help. In podcasts, podcasts are gradually becoming very common these days, and a lot of people listen to them as an alternative to radio. A podcast is just like a audio medium, just like radio. Now nowadays people are using podcasts. Majority of the people, they are more or less like online radio stations and are generating increasing popularity. Information is usually shared during podcasts, and the listeners can use it as a source of data collection. Another source of data collection, you can see letters are there, radio stations are there, public sector records are there. They can be used for investigation purpose or for research purpose. So advantages of secondary data, you can see secondary data can be easily available as compared to primary data and inexpensive compared to primary data. Secondary data will be inexpensive as you need not personally go there and collect information. You need not travel anywhere. Nowadays, as I have already discussed, from websites, from podcasts, or from blogs, you can gather information and you can put forth your report. And it is time saving also. It does not consume much time. From house itself, you can take the help of secondary data in majority of the cases. And for longitudinal and comparative studies, secondary data is of significance. So what is longitudinal? Let us take for example, a researcher wants to conduct a study on children's mental development. So he wants to take a child's mental development from 10 years to, let's take for example, 16 years. He wants to study his mental growth, whether how mental development is taking place in children. So he cannot wait for 6 years or 7 years. What he can do, he can take the help of secondary data that is already available, and he can make a study of the records that are available in libraries or in blogs or in websites or in any books like this. Otherwise, if he has to make a longitudinal study, that is for 7 years, if he wants to study children, means it will be very, very difficult. In comparative studies also, if he wants to make a comparative study between two different cultures or two different citizens' food habits or dressing habits or economic habits, then it will be very, very difficult to make study on his own. So in these cases, secondary data will be of immense help in generating new insights into already established laws. Secondary data will be of much help. So disadvantage of secondary data, if we discuss, data quality will be less compared to when compared to primary data, because we do not know whether the data is authentic or not. Sometimes the earlier researchers, when for them it is primary data, but for the next investigator it will be secondary data. So the primary investigator, if he has done any mistakes, that will be passed on to the present investigation or present research. So data quality is questionable. And sometimes irrelevant data will be there, and he has to, now present investigator has to filter that irrelevant data, irrelevant information he has to filter. Sometimes exaggerated data will be there, and he has to filter that extra statements also, extra information also he has to filter. And outdated information will be there. Unlike primary data means it is raw data, first time data, up to date information will be there. Whereas in secondary data it depends on primary data. It depends on some other source. So whatever the source for the secondary data, it may be updated source or outdated source. So it is also questionable. Outdated information may be there. So now we will have a look at the differences between primary data and the secondary data. If you look at the definition, first time whatever information that is gathered, it will become a primary data source, whereas secondary data means the data which is already existing and which we are using for our purpose, we are using for our benefit. That is a secondary data. So let us take for example, census every year, for every 10 years, central government collects population data, that is primary data for the government. Whereas based on the same census reports, if we carry out any investigation, if we carry out any research, then it becomes secondary data for us. Now, type of data. The type of data provided by primary data is real time, means it is up to date, whereas data provided by secondary data is stale. Means, as we have already discussed, it may be outdated. The process. Researchers usually are very involved in the primary data collection process, whereas less involvement you can see in the collection of secondary data because it is quick and easy to collect. So as such, we cannot say with the same confidence that too much involvement is there, very good involvement is there as in primary data. So similar availability. Primary data is available in crude form, means it's in its natural form it is available, whereas data is available in a refined form in case of secondary data. So data collection tools. Data can be collected using surveys, questionnaires, interviews, or direct investigation like that. Whereas in secondary data are collected using the library, government reports, websites, podcasts, or blogs, or magazines like that. And sources, data sources include surveys, observations, experiments, questionnaires, focus group interviews like that. Those are the primary data sources, whereas secondary data sources include books, journals, articles, web pages, blogs, etc. So specific primary data is always specific to the research needs, whereas secondary data may or may not be specific to the researcher's need because we do not know whether it exactly fits into our needs because the data was collected by somebody else, the data was analyzed by somebody else, the data was summarized by somebody else, the data was stabilized by somebody else, the data was presented by somebody else, but we do not know whether it is specific to our needs or not. So the researcher will be in a dilemma whether whatever data that is there, that is available there in primary data, whether the data is sufficient, is specific for his needs, or whether it is updated, whether it is relevant or not, he cannot tell with 100% confidence. So that is why it may not be specific in case of secondary data. The accuracy, reliability, and suitability. Primary data is more reliable and suitable to the inquiry because the investigator himself collects it. So the data will be more accurate and data will be more reliable when compared to secondary data. So in case of secondary data, as you all know, it is less reliable and suitable as someone else has done the job of collection, which may not serve the purpose. So data is less accurate and data is less reliable as compared to primary data. So cost effectiveness. So we require more funds in case of primary data. So that is why it is very expensive. Whereas in case of secondary data, it needs comparatively less funds. So that is why it is less expensive. So collection time. So time also in case of primary data, time required to collect primary data is usually long, whereas time required to collect secondary data is usually short. So advantages, it is more reliable. Primary data's advantages, you can see the data is more reliable, the data is more accurate, the data is costly, the data is time consuming, but the data is specific, the data is authentic. Whereas in case of secondary data, it is less expensive, the data will be less time consuming. Whereas if you compare the disadvantages, primary data, even though it is more authentic, even though it is more reliable, even though it is more accurate, even though it is more specific, but there will be a lot of time consumed and it will be involving costly methods. Whereas secondary data is not reliable, not accurate. Data may be outdated and the data may be irrelevant because it was collected by somebody else and we are using for our purpose. So not only this, but we can also say that from organization factor also, we can differentiate. In the case of primary data, it requires elaborate organization, whereas no need of any organizational setup in case of secondary data. As I have already mentioned, from house itself, we can gather information, we can conduct investigation, and we can submit report in case of secondary data with the help of newspapers, with the help of magazines, with the help of websites, with the help of blogs, with the help of podcasts, with the help of radios. We can conduct our study, we can conduct our investigation, and we can submit our report. So precautions, not only that, from the point of view of precautions also, you can differentiate between primary data and the secondary data. No extra precautions are required in case of primary data because we are not copying from any other source. Genuinely, we are going to work on the project, on the study. So that is our original data. So no need of taking extra precautions. Whereas secondary data needs more care and attention. As we have already mentioned, nowadays anybody can write anything in WhatsApp or in their websites or in blogs, or they can share any information through WhatsApp. So that is not reliable. So before you want to prepare your own report, you have to take utmost care in taking the help of secondary data for your investigation because sometimes there will be copyright, sometimes there will be patents already generated, and in that case you cannot blindly copy from other source. So you have to take certain care, you have to take precautions for that purpose. So that is why precautions are not required in case of primary data collection. Whereas in case of secondary data collection, precautions are required. No statistical errors. What is a statistical error? So first of all, we have to know what is statistic. So in previous lessons, we have seen that data collection methods will be different. Census method will be there, or otherwise population method is there. Secondly, sample method is there. So if you calculate measures of central tendency for the entire population, that is known as a parameter. Means the entire population's characteristic is known as parameter, whereas a sample's characteristic is known as statistic. So a sample, as you already know, I believe, is a part of population which represents the population. So in our previous lessons, we have learned various kinds of sampling techniques, that is stratified sampling, random sampling, and systematic sampling, quota sampling. Like that, there are various methods of collecting samples. So sometimes errors may occur. So what are those errors? A statistical error, what do you mean by error? A statistical error is the difference between the original value and the true value. Retained value means original value. Sorry, retained value means our calculated value. So a statistical error is the difference between the original value and calculated value. In other words, it is the difference between the retained value and the true value. I am again saying, I am again defining a statistical error is the difference between the retained value and the true value. It is the difference between calculated value and the original value. It is associated with accuracy, since accuracy is used to mean the inverse of the total error, including bias and variance. That is defined in Fish survey sampling in 1965 is defined like this. The larger the error, the lower the accuracy. If the error is more, means accuracy in your report, in your investigation will be less. Data may be obtained by counting or by measuring or by estimating. So when items are counted, exact numbers can be found. Exact numbers can be raised. But in measuring and estimating, absolute accuracy is not possible. Even in counting, where absolute accuracy is possible, it may not be desirable always. If the population under study is huge, is very huge, you cannot make a count of each and every head. It will be very, very difficult. So it may not give the desired clarity. So extent of accuracy required depends on the purpose of the study and the situation in which we are conducting a study. So please remember again, data may be obtained by counting or by measuring or by estimating. When we count, exact numbers may be arrived at, but counting each and every item in the population involves lot of time, lot of effort, lot of cost. So that is not possible always. So that is why we go for measuring and estimating. When measuring and estimating takes place, there are chances of errors. Errors are bound to creep in. So errors in statistics. The difference between the true value and the estimated or approximate value of an item is an error. They arise because different kinds of errors may arise because the estimates are often based on the sample observation. The methods involved also include approximation through rounding. Please remember, it is not possible to always arrive at correct figures in statistics because we cannot count everything. Entire population cannot be taken into account. So we go for sampling. In case of sampling, compulsorily we cannot say that with 100% confidence. We cannot say that whatever information that is gathered, that is presented, that is summarized, that is submitted in a report form may not be 100% correct. Sometimes errors are bound to be crept in. Sometimes errors may arise. It may be because the estimates are often based on sample observations. The methods involved also include approximation through rounding. So statistical data errors are mainly of three types. They are of three types. So errors of origin. Errors due to limitations of the measuring instruments, selection of unsuitable statistical units, and informants giving incorrect answers, investigators' biasness. All these lead to errors of origin. So statistical data errors may be classified into three types: errors of origin, errors of inadequacy, error of manipulation. We will come to know about them one after the other. Errors of origin. So errors due to limitations of the measuring instruments means your measuring instrument may be arithmetic. You want to measure central tendency. So there are different methods in central tendency. It may be arithmetic mean. You may take the help of mean. You may take the help of mode. These three measuring instruments you want to use. Only one of them you want to use. So each one has its own advantages. Each one of it has its own disadvantage. So in that case, if you take the help of a particular measure of central tendency, automatically the disadvantages associated with that measure of central tendency will apply to your sample also, to your statistic also. So selection of unsuitable statistical units. So in our previous lessons, we have learned that there are different kinds of sampling techniques are there. Systematic sampling, stratified sampling, cluster sampling, simple random sampling, quota sampling. Like this, there are various techniques of sampling selections. So if they are wrong, selection of unsuitable statistical units, then errors are bound to be there. So similarly, if you want to conduct a survey on economic well-being of citizens in a particular country or in a particular area, so in that case, if the information provided by the informants should be accurate, only then we can conduct the research in an accurate way. If they give incorrect answers, then errors of origin will be there. So our sample selection should be perfect. Our measuring instrument should be perfect. The informants, the respondents, in other words, whoever is giving that answer, they should give correct answers, suitable answers for our questions. And sometimes, if the principal investigator is biased, he may be biased towards his religion or towards his caste, towards his creed, towards his color, towards his sex. So in that case, his report is going to be biased also. So they are all errors of origin. They will result in error of origin. So again repeating, errors due to limitations of the measuring instrument, selection of unsuitable statistical units, informants giving incorrect answers, investigators bias, all these lead to error of origin. So error of inadequacy, when size of sample is too small or sample not correctly representing the population, will result in error of inadequacy. So suppose, as already discussed, if the sample size is more, your statistic will be closer to the parameter. Parameter, again repeating, again saying, parameter is a characteristic feature of the population, whereas statistic is a characteristic feature of the sample. So if the sample size is more, it will be closer to the population parameter. If the sample size is less, there are chances of error of inadequacy creeping into your research or creeping into your investigation. So error of manipulation will be there. That is unintentionally committed errors in counting, measuring, etc. or errors due to approximation. Means sometimes we will come across this also. Error of manipulation means in counting, it may be addition, it may be subtraction, it may be multiplication, it may be division. If any unintentional error is there, then it is actually error of manipulation. Similarly, measuring also, in measuring also, we are bound to make mistakes. We are going to make errors sometimes. So that will result in error of manipulation or errors due to approximation. So in finding out approximate values also, sometimes errors may have crept in our research or investigation. So approximation. Several times, in several cases, only approximate figures could be arrived at. It is not possible to find out exact figures. It is difficult to have accurate physical measurement, although one can achieve a reasonable degree of precision in measurement. If numerous digits are included in a figure, it may confuse. So, what we are going to do is we are going to approximate the value. Okay, unnecessary digits can be approximated and confusion can be avoided. So approximation is required to eliminate confusion, to reduce confusion, and approximation is required to ensure precision up to certain degree, up to certain level. The approximation enables clear grasping. Without approximating certain numbers, certain figures, it will be very, very difficult to understand what the researcher has presented. The approximation is necessary in certain cases. It facilitates calculations and comparisons. Approximation depends upon the degree of accuracy desired in the data. So the more accurate data is to be presented means the lesser approximation should be there. If less accuracy is desired in the data means more approximation can be taken up. The approximation is done by rounding off the digits. So desired level of accuracy in figures can be achieved by approximation, which is done by rounding off. The methods of rounding we can see rounding up next to full unit. Now let us take for example, we will consider them with examples. Rounding up next to full unit. See, four kinds of rounding are there for approximation, rounding up next to full unit. Let us take for example 2908 is given, is your answer to a problem. In your investigation, each case, what you will do is normally you will round off this to the next upper full limit. That is, you 2910 you will take instead of 8. So it is better to have a multiple of 10. So that is why you will go to the next number, which is at the end, which looks an even number and which is easily you can remember, Now rounding down. Sometimes, suppose if your answer in the above example itself is 290, what you have to do is you have to go to 2900, but not 2910, because whenever we are going to have a closer look at the number, if the last digit is below 5 means you are going to take the previous number. If the last digit is above 5 means you are going to round up. If it is below 5 means you are going to round it down. So round to nearest unit. Rounding to nearest unit means suppose your answer is 2908.86 is there. So what you will do? To nearest 2909 you will check, or otherwise we will go for 2910. That is rounding to nearest unit. Rounding to so many significant figures. So let us take for example zeros at the extreme left of a number are not significant. So let us take for example if your answer is you have calculated your answer is 000050010. So zeros at this right side, at the right end are of significance, whereas these left side zeros are not significant. You can remove them. It leads to unnecessary confusion. So this is what you will be saying. So this is required in research sometimes. Okay, this extreme left side zeros you can eliminate. You can remove them to avoid confusion. So this is what we mean by saying rounding off. The degree of accuracy in statistical reports, figures are usually rounded off for convenience. When the figures are rounded, the degree of accuracy can be stated in one of the following ways. You can see expressing data to the nearest 1000, the 672.4. You can take it as 672. Using the sign plus or minus to indicate approximation in absolute terms. If it is 5000 plus or minus 500, you are saying you are giving 5000 plus or minus 500. This indicates that the actual value can be 500 of 5000. Means it may be 500 more or less than 5000. So accurate value maybe between 4,500 and 5,500. Using the signs of plus and minus indicate proportion of error, that is 5,000 plus or minus 0.1. This indicates that the actual value can be 0.1 of 5,000, that is 500 more or less than 5,000. Using a percentage to the same number, let us take for example 5,000 plus or minus 10%, means that the error is 10% of 5,000. In this way, you can state accuracy degrees in your investigation. In your lesson, today we have learned about secondary data and the statistical errors, the differences between primary data and secondary data. Thank you, dear students.